So we'll hop into our lines here. And I'll grab each of our lines, and I want to set our anchor points to this left side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an adjustment layer to hold all our sliders. So I'm just going to come up to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer. I'll just call this Control. Come to our Effects and Presets window, and I'll type in Slider Control. I'll add that here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop in to our shape layer here, and press S on the keyboard to bring up scale. Select our control layer. I'm going to alt click on the stopwatch. I'm going to take the pick whip here, and I'm going to drag this to the slider, and we're going to get this expression. Basically, you can totally ignore what this says because After Effects does the calculation for us. But now what happens, if I click off it, you can see our shape disappeared because our slider value is set to 0. But as I increase our slider, our shape layer begins to scale. The only problem here is that it's scaling in both the X and Y directions. So all I have to do is add a simple expression to the end here, and I'll just paste this because I already had it saved. If you type in temp, comma, value, bracket, 0, bracket, and close bracket to end the expression, basically this is telling our expression to only affect the X value, which is 0. If you want this to affect the Y position, change the 0 to a 1. Since we only want this to affect X, go ahead and type in 0. And so now, when I drag our slider, you can see it's only moving in the X direction. And so what we can do is I can alt-click our slider, and I can use our good friend, the wiggle expression. And I can type in wiggle, something like 0.5 for every half a second, wiggle by a value of 80. So now, without using any keyframes, you can see, if we scrub through, we have our animation. The only problem is, sometimes it'll actually go negative, because this value is a little too high. So let's change that to something a little lower, like 45, just to limit this, hopefully in the positive direction. So now what I can do, I can go into the scales of all our other layers, can alt-click the stopwatch again, just go down the line here, and I can duplicate this slider 5 times. This way we'll get a bunch of random numbers. I can take each of our shape layers and I can parent the scale to a different slider. Why don't we actually match these numbers up to stay consistent? We just have to remember to paste our expression at the bottom of each of these to make sure we limit it to just the x-axis. So if we click in our expression, we can just Command V and paste our expression at the bottom here. So now, have these randomly animating bars, except for one here, which looks like we never actually pick whipped. Back to our control. Let's parent this to 1. Paste in our expression. Now we have all these randomly animated bars. What's really cool is now we can do the same thing to the numbers using our existing sliders. So we can come into our 5 here. We can take our text, we can alt-click on the source text, select our control. I'm actually going to lock this panel here so we don't keep losing it. I'll pick whip this to slider control 5. And if I come to the beginning here and I type math.round, parentheses in the beginning, and one more to close it on the end, now our number here will adjust as this bar moves. Looks like everything's a little tight. I'm just going to go ahead and give this a little more room. Select our numbers, scoot them over, give it a little more breathing space. I'm just going to go down the line. If I press U twice, it'll bring up all our parameters. Alt-click our stopwatch, take our source text for text layer 4, parent that to slider 4, and you can see now if I don't type in that math expression, we get this long line of decimals. So just to clean it up, you come to the beginning, type in math.round, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and now we'll get a nice rounded number. We'll just go ahead again, and we'll do that down the line. Alt-click the stopwatch, parent text 3 to slider 3, come to the beginning, capital M, math.round, open parentheses, close parenthesis, UU to bring up our parameters, alt-click the source text, pick whip to slider 2, come to the beginning, math.round, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and one more. And now, if we scrub through, without setting any keyframes, with all these numbers animating and our bars animating in a random fashion. So now if we hop back into our pre-comp, you can see have our numbers, our bars animating, and if we wait till we're about here to get this started, just drag this over, and we can just bring this on with a simple fade in. Maybe we can do a scale. So come to the beginning here, we'll set our scale down to 0, we'll set a keyframe, we'll hop forward 15 frames, set a keyframe as something like 110, hop forward 5 more and set it down to 0. So now we have a little bit of overshoot on the scale up, and then it pops into place. We can scoot this down a little bit, and maybe over a little bit by using our arrow keys. Maybe even if we select this layer and we press T to bring up opacity, set that down to 0, hop forward 20 frames, set that up to 100. This fades in as it scales. The last thing we have to edit is just this block of text.